Are y'all ready to head off the trails? I'm the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, and I'm ready to take you on a mysterious journey right now. We welcome you to Off the Trails right here on the Spaced Out Radio's YouTube channel. If you guys haven't hit subscribe yet, please do. We would love to have you guys. Shout out to Bumblefoot for that awesome intro music. I always appreciate that. You guys, please follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Okay. Did I say Twitter? I don't remember. Just follow us on Spaced Out Radio. Okay. And you guys can find me at thecryptidhuntress.com. That is my website. Also, I have a fabulous YouTube channel. That's the Cryptid Huntress. Please go over there and subscribe if you have not done that already. Man, we've had some great shows over there too lately. Okay. Also, I have a Patreon, and let's see, what else do I have? Oh, and a shop, War Woman Goods. If you guys would like to support what I'm doing and all of my work. We also have a Patreon called the Space Travelers Club here for Spaced Out Radio. And you guys can get your perks over there. More information on that at spacedoutradio.com. And also, if you guys would like to join us at the Spaced Out Radio fan party, that's going to be May 10th through the 12th, I believe, out in Reno, Nevada. We're going to be broadcasting live, and some of the biggest and brightest names in the cryptid and UFO communities and the paranormal communities are going to be there. It's going to be a really good time. So you guys come hang out with us in May in Reno. All right. Well, I have a fantastic show for us tonight. I have my buddy, Barry Littleton, in the studio tonight. We're going to be talking about sea cryptids tonight. And so, yeah, go get your popcorn, y'all. I know I'm freezing right now. It is such a cold night here in Georgia. All I could do is think about tropical mermaids and stuff today. I was like, oh, it'll warm you up. Okay. Hopefully that'll warm us up tonight. We got to think tropical tonight because I know most of us are freezing. All right. Okay. Don't forget that right after this show, After Hours has a really good program set up for us. So y'all go over there and hang out with Rob G right after this show tonight. All right, let's get to our guest. Barry Littleton was born awake with fragmented past life memories. He began having paranormal experiences at a young age. These experiences included telepathic awareness, seeing or feeling ghosts, and various inorganic beings. These encounters and some of the entities themselves had a distinct extraterrestrial origin. That led him into a lifetime of research and exploration into the metaphysical and paranormal fields. And you guys know you can find Barry Littleton hanging out with me over on my channel and here at Spaced Out Radio and on his amazing YouTube channel, Barry Littleton. Please help me welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight, my buddy, Barry Littleton. Hey, Barry.
Hey, what's up, Jessica? Thanks for having me on. We doing some good work lately.
Long time no see, bud. I know, right? We've been doing a lot of shows together lately, and really diving into some serious topics like mall aliens, right?
Yeah, that video's done very well. Got a lot of responses on that. I think that once again I say, because I wasn't at a point where I wasn't going to keep working with people anymore in these communities because I've had some bad experiences, but you kind of change that around. I enjoy the work we do. And when dealing with this subject we're going to talk about tonight, it's interesting because we've done several different shows over sea cryptids, sea monsters, sea serpents, things like that. Also, hello to the audience. I saw some people saying hello. Greetings to everybody. Thank you for having me. So, but it's amazing. So we can probably combine some of those because some of those were blind remote viewing targets I gave you, some of those sea cryptids. Yeah. And yeah, I think if I recall correctly, it's the Japanese kappa that kind of freaked you out, wasn't it?
It was. Well, they all freaked me out to an extent, but I had a really hard time going swimming in the lake after, because we've got my sister's got a spot down on a big lake out in Alabama. And in the week that I did that show with you about the kappas, I really didn't want to get in that lake because I thought that I was going to get grabbed and dragged under the water by a kappa or something. So it does get a little unnerving sometimes after we do these shows together, thinking about the possibilities of what's lurking around in our environment, But not only
Well,
that, we've gone over the Kustica out of I think that's like Alaska and the Northwest Pacific coast. Um,
the Otter Man. The
yeah,
Otter
the
Man,
Otter
this is
Man.
called also the Kustica. Yeah. And that was one of those deals there where I gave you that target because the first thing is I want to know, is it real as a cryptid? And
Yeah.
if the target's no good, if it's bunk, you'll pick up on it immediately. There'll be no data, or it'll be something all messed up. So I wanted to
Mhm.
see if that creature was actually real. And it's just interesting because how often the Kustica, the Otter Man, was mistaken for Sasquatch swimming. And I made a video over
Mhm.
Sasquatch swimming, and I got somebody threatened my life over it. But anyway, but the Kustica is something different, and that's another one of these amazing cryptids that just seems to pop up in our.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I tell you one thing, people get a little crazy when it comes to some of these cryptids and stuff. And I don't know. Uh, yeah, but we're here, we're all a little bit crazy, right? We're just here to have a good time and to explore some of this stuff. So yeah, I don't think that we've ever really gotten very much in depth about mermaids before, and merpeople and mermen. I mean, we've talked about them before, but we've never actually done a show on mermaids before. And they've been coming up in on I guess social media and stuff lately. A lot of videos. I mean, there's been documentaries on them. However, they were fake. I think that was a fake documentary on Animal Planet.
Yeah, that was that Animal Planet documentary. I sent you a couple of clips actually yesterday that probably started some of this, and I just got interested. Some of that stuff Joe Rogan does, I watched some of it because some of it's interesting. He has some interesting guests on there, but he had that brother on there, Tony Woods, and
Mhm.
Tony Woods was saying that he was in Seychelles, Africa, at the hotel in this lagoon, and he saw this mermaid. He left the party and went down there with this kid, and this mermaid comes up, and his description of it was very interesting in terms of, he said it was like 8, 9, 10 feet long length, and it came out of the water, and he said it was a male, and it was melanin dominant. It was darker. And just the very end of the back of it, when it would turn around and took off, it like hit the water without any splash. Just very interesting. The kid started screaming, went up there and told his mom. His mom said he was making things up. And Tony told his lady, "Lady, we just saw a fish man." Yeah, and interestingly enough, when you actually do look in that area, there's a lot of reports about stuff like that and people seeing these merpeople. It's a shame because that Animal Planet documentary had 2 clips on there that I think were maybe possibly real. And it's the one where it looks like they're over the Baltic Sea or somewhere, and they pull this net up, and something's flipping around in it, and you see this webbed hand come out, and then it drops and goes back down in that current. That would be a risky stunt for anybody. And I think that one was real. And there's another one where the guys are looking at the thing on the rock, and then it takes off into the water. And when you look at these reports, yes, that one, yes. Oh, right on, Jessica, good job. But when you start looking at the reports, there was always reports of these things being seen on rocks, like they're sunbathing. And the reports of the merpeople, mermaid, are nothing like when I was younger. They said they all look like Daryl Hannah, and they could get the legs wet, but they don't. In reality, they don't look like that. They're supposed to look much more fish-like and much more. It's always
Scary.
somewhat fearsome, grotesque to a degree. Yeah. And there's certain things that documentary had pulled out too, like those old rumors, those old myths about the spears being found in nets, in fishermen's net, those odd spears. So it's things like that come up, and then that goes into the sirens and how the sirens scream and things like banshees or sing. I've heard you read reports like that quite a bit. And let's take this and throw something else in, all right? Because when dealing with these possible mer species, are they all native to Earth? We don't really know. Excuse me. We start dealing with the type of extraterrestrials, aquatics, and amphibious that have interacted with Earth. One would be, of course, the Nomo that came to interact with a doggone, and that's one of the blind targets I gave you. I gave you the Nomo as a blind target. You knocked that one out of the ballpark, and people, please understand that when the Nomo actually came down, they went into the water immediately. The ship went down into the water immediately and they submerged. They came out later, and when I was younger and I would spend a lot of times at the African-American bookstore, and they had these interesting books there and it had no barcodes on them, so many of them. That's why I love going there. And it was one I was reading that was saying that the doggone, not just were some of these Nomo look fish-like, but there was another type of Nomo that came from Sirius too, that was Sirius B, actually. Everybody knows that story with them and how they've got it on the chart and everything on the cave wall. But there was another type Nomo came that were actually blue, and they stayed in the housing that's on top of the doggone village, those little holes up there. Supposedly that's for the blue Nomo that would come down. It would stay in those little holes, but the others were in the sea. So, anyway, and when looking at that, let's throw something else in there. Since it's still on topic, so hopefully nobody will boo me out of here, right? It's spaced out radio, right? But check it out. When dealing with the Nomo and thinking about that, I want to cross-reference that with what was the in the 90s. Do you remember the NASA tether incident?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, where you got that tether out there and you've got those balls floating around.
Mm-hmm.
And they look like life forms. And for those that know, I talk about living organic craft all the time. And the Nomo craft and were supposed to be organic of a nature too, but aquatic. There's a thing called Star Trek Enterprise where they had these beings called the Xindi, and one of the Xindis was aquatics. These very interesting looking aquatics. But anyway, when dealing with the NASA tether incident, there was a gentleman, Louis A. Frank. Louis A. Frank wrote a book concerning cosmic balls and how he thought that cosmic balls were coming down. That's really how the earth got fertilized for humanity and amino acids and all that stuff. But that's kind of when dealing with also, he was proposing that possibly the tether is the same thing. That's that. So the Nomo said they would return. When you look at that NASA tether, is that what that is? Just food for thought, because that could be very rare aquatic life forms right there. Amphibious, aquatic, whatever. It's just, putting something together.
It could be. Now, we had something, another, I don't know if this is a target. I don't think this is a remote viewing target, but we did a show on this, the Lake Baikal swimmers. And because when you said blue, this reminded me of these things. They were some sort of, they look like ETs underneath the water. And I believe this is in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's not the sea, but it is the ocean. It's it's the largest ocean in the world. I'm not ocean, the largest lake in the world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were the ones that were said they were pulling it, trying to get the divers to come down deeper, right?
Yes, and actually they went down, and then the divers tried to get back up. And some of them passed away because of the shock. They were thrusted up into the air to the surface too fast.
Mm-hmm.
By those things.
And what were they trying to do? Trying to capture one of them, weren't they?
I think they had orders to to get a sample. I think, I don't know.
And then that's not too far from the infamous organism 46B. Well, that was Lake Vostok, wasn't it? That's the Lake Vostok. Yeah, and that comes up when you're dealing with organism 46B. That is also akin to what would be almost types of giant squids. And what I find interesting outside of organism 46B, if you start listening to some of those reports of some of those deep rig people that work on those deep rigs, they see all sorts of weird stuff down there. Then that's something not too far out at all. And taking that just with the giant squid we know now, that puts the whole thing of the Kraken into perspective. When I was back in the 90s, I worked with this cat that was he used to be a naval guy, and he had told me a story. He was partying one night, and he was telling me the story about he was on one of those aircraft carriers, and his job was like on the back of it, looking for either people overboard or something. He described it beyond my knowledge, but he had said they were docked with another ship of some part. He was describing how they like sit, and he was saying that it's just, nothing going on. It's very dark with the lights on the ship, and he heard a splash, and he looked over. He saw by the other craft or another ship a tentacle break the surface. He said it terrified him to death because it was the size of that whole side of the ship. He said whatever it was just broke the surface with this other. You see things like that. Look on his face. I don't think he was spinning yarn.
Yeah. Well, I think they say that there's only been 10% of the Earth's ocean, I guess, mapped out or studied, or we don't know a whole lot about the ocean, Barry. Some say that we know more about space than we do the ocean here on Earth.
Yeah, and you've got those beings too, those extremophiles that exist like on the thermal vents. You've got a whole other thing going on down there, like the Yeti crab, and it actually uses that hair on it to get bacteria to survive. That's how it feeds. That comes out of the vent. It's very fascinating what's going on down there. And when you start dealing with things like, another one we'll throw in there since we're dealing with sea cryptids, right? Loch Ness, of course, and that's always been an interesting one for a couple of reasons. One is that I watched this guy. It's been some years ago. Do this documentary completely dismissing Nessie and explaining every picture you've seen, all this stuff, and he just tore it all apart, basically saying it's BS. But then at the end of it, they asked him, they said, well, so the Loch Ness monster is not real, right? And he says, oh no, there's something in the loch because I've seen something in there. What? He said, I can't describe what it was, but I saw something. So he says there is something going on, but I believe all the other stuff you're getting is just rumors. And then somebody else comes forward and said, if you lived in that area, you'd realize that thing's seen a lot more than what you think, a lot more activity than you think. And I remember Jeremy Wade did this big, the river monster cat, like that guy. He did this deal about saying that he thought it was a Greenland shark, is what people were seeing in there. But in reality, I think a lot of times what you hear about the Loch Ness monster, it really seems to fit of what would be a giant eel of some type, I think. And that takes us into something else I'll talk about, which is the K-moss. And the K-moss are those serpents that supposedly follow these giant eels that follow the salmon. And the first time I heard about that, it was this guy at that ranch. He was said he did work at the Olympic Peninsula, and if there are these canneries there, and in the back of the canneries they had these nets, and some of these nets had these huge holes in them because these K-moss would come up and get in the nets and take the salmon, and they could never catch them because they chew right through those nets. Yeah. So it's just, you start listening to hearing stuff like that, and that's, I think you gotta listen to the indigenous people.
You do. And okay, so when you had mentioned that to me earlier, you sent me a video, because you have already done a lot of research on this topic and all these topics that we talk about on your YouTube channel. Y'all go subscribe to Barry Littleton on YouTube, everybody. Because you had sent me a video. I think I'd seen it before. I mean, you and I have been working together for at least a couple of years now. And so we've kind of touched on.
Like it's been that long.
I know, right?
Gosh, Helen, Georgia, has been a couple of years ago. That's the truth.
It has been, I know. But okay, so I was making the connection when I was watching those videos of, I know we're talking about sea cryptids today, but when you brought up the fisheries and the canneries and wherever they're packing in fish and stuff and salmon, I was thinking of Portlock, Alaska. Okay, and that was one of those, another show that I did a long time ago where I had remote viewed the Portlock, Alaska incident where the entire town evacuated because Sasquatch were attacking the villagers there and unaliving them and eating them, and all sorts of weird stuff was going on. That town really did get evacuated because of that. There's TV shows about it today. But yeah, it has, it's all about those resources and those fish, and the cryptids are going to go where there's a lot of natural resources and food for them. And so that's why the Kushika's up there around that area, I'm sure, because of all the resources, all the food.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it makes absolute sense, you know. And then you know, something else. We'll throw another one in there. The Ninjin, which is another Japanese sea cryptid. And you know, I had heard a lot that the Ninjin was actually just invented by some people on the internet, that it's not real. But when you start looking into it and the different types of cryptids and merpeople you start hearing about, and I think the Ninjin was supposed to be more whale-like, like partial whale humanoid. But I mean, I don't know. So I guess the jury's still out on that one. Is it real or is it not? But we know there's some type of mer species that inhabits this planet, as in those waters. So,
and these are cold waters too. I think these have been spotted in Antarctica. This is what I would think a mermaid would look like, or a merman. I mean, it looks like a beluga whale, because we have beluga whales at the Atlanta Aquarium, at the Georgia Aquarium. That's like my favorite exhibit there, are the beluga whales. So this looks like a beluga whale, but with human hands. Okay, that is what I think that a mermaid would probably look like. I don't think they're all pretty. Okay, so I mean, if these things do exist, I can imagine people got them assume those were mermaids.
You know, when you start looking into that, like Seychelles, but in Africa, you start getting a lot of reports of what they look like when they're seen on these rocks. And like I said, they're always described as looking horrible. Sometimes almost having something like seaweed for hair, but the face being very partially fish-like, humanoid, but partially fish-like, and then the rest of the body being much more fish-like outside below the torus. Excuse me. Taurus. Yeah. So that, but that, you know, I mean, I don't know, you know, when dealing with the extraterrestrial contact scenario, and interestingly enough, no one likes to talk about this, but culturally it's different. The groups aren't still communicating that much. And when dealing with a lot of melanin dominant Black contactees, a lot has come up with these race of Andromedans that are merpeople that come here, and they interact with Earth a lot. And I mean, that's come up quite a few. And these melanin dominant merpeople that have dreadlocks of some type, but they're always reported from coming from somewhere in Andromeda. Now, I got a problem when people say, "Oh, they're Andromedans," you know, for that doesn't mean much. That's like, man, that's a huge galaxy. That's like saying, "Hey, what are you? Hey, I'm a Milky Wayid." What does that mean? From where in the Milky Way? You know, that doesn't. Anyway,
kind of like yes, I like the sound of that. I'm a Milky Wayin. Yes. I've never heard that before. That's a new one. I like it.
Yeah. So so when dealing with the aquatic species, that's what we hear more galactic-wise, space-wise. Them coming from Sirius B, them coming from Andromeda. Those are the ones you seem to hear more. And of course, there's going to be more than that, but those are the ones you hear about a lot. You know, I had some type of an experience once, and it was with a green light that kept coming around when I was meditating, when I was trying to do spiritual stuff. This green light, I mean, it was so dominant. And I started trying to communicate with it. It started communicating, but you know, without saying much more about that, it was some type of aquatic being. Aquatic, but it was light. I don't think we fully understand, you know, the different containers for consciousness and how they function and what environments they can function in. Food for thought again.
We've got to think on a galactic level these days, for sure. Gaia Love 1. This is an interesting comment. I hope there's freshwater mermaids. The only water by me is a lake. Well, you're in luck. If you live near North Carolina, I do believe there are some creek mermaids, okay, some lake mermaids, some creek mermaids in freshwater. From what I can remember, I have absolutely talked about those on a show before. that I did. I think it was about the cryptids of the Appalachians. Okay, I believe that's the show that I did that on. We talked about mermaids being in North Carolina, off the coast. Now it might be saltwater. I don't know, because it's probably the ocean feeding in, into the creeks. But I don't know.
I'll tell you. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No. I was just going to say it'd be worth looking into some more one day.
Check out for that one, Gaia Love One. Check out mud mermaids. What are called mud mermaids. They're, I think, specifically seen freshwater, and in North Carolina too. But yeah, mud mermaids. And there's somebody that has on YouTube. There's a video of somebody taking a picture of these mermaids that seem to be out there, and you can't see quite what. I mean, it's really interesting. But they're saying this is mermaids right there. You see them out there doing whatever they're doing, and this is freshwater, people. It's a sister say it's a freshwater, people. Yeah. So I mean, again, food for thought. But check out mud mermaids.
That sounds scary. I would not want to run into a mud mermaid. Sorry. I mean, there's a lot of scary stuff out there, but a mud mermaid sounds horrible. That sounds terrifying.
Still looking for Daryl Hannah, right?
I know. Well, you want to think the best. You don't want to think about something with sharp, pointy teeth and rolling around in the mud and coming like a kappa. Okay. So to show the audience tonight, what if you're watching the show tonight, what a kappa looks like. Now, kappas are aquatic cryptids, and these things come out of Japan. There's actually a video going around. It's supposed to be a real kappa getting caught with a net, and I don't know. It looked kind of fake to me, of course, but this is a pretty terrifying cryptid that you had me remote view, Barry.
Yeah, another one. I want to know if it was real, because the boy Jerby Wade said that it was the giant salamander, that they were mistaking it with the giant salamander. But you start looking back. I mean, that story of the kappa goes way long back, and I think the giant salamander, although the one he caught was impressive, I don't think that explains all that. And I find it interesting the things that come out of both Japan and especially, like I said, again, Africa. Africa, you've got a number of sea cryptids that are seen up there, seen there, different areas. Very, very interesting, more than just Ogopogo and Loch Ness,
Yeah, well, in Japan, actually, the ninja are supposed to be Japanese, from what I can remember. But the ninja are also in Antarctica. So I don't know if it was like people from Japan that spotted them and named them, or if they actually show up on the coast of Japan. I don't know. Catherine, hey, Catherine. Catherine says mud mermaids sound like a catfish. Yeah, it'd be like the catfish of mermaids down there. The bottom dwellers, the bottom feeders down there. I love me a good catfish, though. Okay.
Yeah, me too.
We have a catfish pond. Yeah.
Catfish last night for dinner.
You could go noodle. You go noodling for mud mermaids. Just kidding.
There's a lot of stories about those merpeople, though, deceiving people and killing people. I mean, there's a lot. You don't hear many positive things about them at all when you look at the people that have encountered, or they're trying to lure people into sea caves and stuff like that and get people lost. In some ways, it sounds like the little people, what they try to do to people, get people lost and abduct people. Well, there's more children they focus on, the little people. But anyway.
Trickster spirits. They're basically tricksters. All of these daggum things are tricksters. So you gotta watch out. Keep your head on a swivel when it comes to all these things.
You know what was interesting about the movie Splash, though, outside of Dr. Kornbluth and all that stuff he was doing? That movie cracked me up. Eugene Levy. Anyway, but seriously, at the end of that movie, do you remember what she did? She took him down to some city, some underwater city. Remember? And like swam into it. There's stuff like that. And I think when we start dealing with these underwater bases, as they're called, and what may be coming from them, and when we start dealing with these aquatic craft too, and the beings, that it's something else going on there in those bases. That needs to be taken probably very serious.
Yeah.
Is there the connection there? I'll say so. I'll tell you one. I always use movie references. That's my thing. But I always, as a kid, enjoyed black and whites. I'd watch with my mother all the time. But you had a big one, amphibious being back then. It would have been the Gill Man, the creature of the Black Lagoon. Yeah, when I was growing up, there was a cartoon called Manta and Moray. It came on right before Godzilla and Tarzan, and Manta was some type of a sea manta type humanoid, and he was dealing with others that were past Atlanteans, and it was a whole other thing going on. Just interesting when you start really seeing how often these fish people, amphibious people show up. I had quickly at one of the regressions I had done, and this individual had seen a fish being, and this fish being they described them as having a fish face, okay, with a humanoid head, and then a tail, though, a type of a tail. And they were comparing it to some type of a cartoon fish person. It's fascinating. It's actually an individual you have met. It's cool.
That's really
cool
odd. Okay, we had
I never heard something like that, not like that. So
I've not heard that either before. So that's something new. But I mean, like they say, only 10% of the ocean has really been explored and is known about. Okay. Gaia Love One has another interesting comment, and it's about the different sizes of mermaids. Now, I had some pictures that I forgot to put to upload tonight. Okay, I have a ton of them that I put to the side to upload, and I forgot. But they're little mermaid mummies, or it's like taxidermed, allegedly. It's almost like it could be like a jackalope kind of deal. But I forgot the name of them. They have names, and they're on display at, I don't know, museums, I guess. But there are merpeople, allegedly, and they're really tiny. They look kind of small, but there's like a fish tail and then a really crazy, scary looking face and hands, like a torso, I guess. But they're small. They're always small. They're like 2 or 3 feet long. Whenever you see those things in a museum, from the pictures that I can find.
That's that brother Tony Woods. Tony Woods was his name. You type in Tony Woods and Joe Rogan, or Tony Woods, Joe Rogan, and Mermaid. It'll come up on YouTube. It's like 7 minutes he's talking about it. Yeah. But he says this thing come up swimming, and he said it was fairly shallow water. It came up swimming really quick, and when it came out, he said it was like 10 feet long. And when it came out, he said it was a male. He said it was a male, and it came out. And he said it seemed like it was really letting us know we didn't want us in that water. And everybody was cracking jokes, saying at the party, saying, "Don't go down to the lagoon at night. Don't go down there." So him and that kid went down there and got in the water, and that's what they saw. So that's another example of that. So I have heard reports of them being long, and there was that one false carcass, but I think it was probably false, but that thing was really long and big. It's supposed to be the mermaid in the case. Yeah, so I doubt that's real though. But anyway, so yeah, I would agree with that. There's different sizes of them, definitely.
Yeah, apparently. It could have been like those aliens that I had remote viewed down in Mexico. It could have been stuff that was kind of stuck. And the jury's still out on those, y'all. Okay, those the 2 alien bodies. Okay.
Oh no!
You know what I'm talking about.
I did that show with you. Oh yes,
yeah.
Oh well, yes, the mummies. Yes. I can't remember what the tests came out. They ran those tests, and what did those tests say about those things? Since we did that show, it said something more information's come out about those carcasses, and And my other thing would be, why, when you have something like that, would there be you should have a whole team of geneticists there, all getting a little piece of that, all doing a report on it. Not just one. Look, this is shady. Seems shady to me. I just, it's kind of like the mall aliens. These things that are made so public are most likely deception. It just comes out that way most time. Just like what we hear about the contact experience. Very little of what you hear about the contact experience in the media is reality. and the way it is to be a contactee and the way the process happens. Very little.
You said it, not me. You said
well, I'll tell you what, stuff like Ray Hernandez, that research they're doing, CCRI backs up what I'm saying. It's not just me. You know what I mean? But what I experienced, I would have went crazy if all I had to do was rely on the media for what I was experiencing. Hearing Barty and Betty Hill wasn't cutting it. That wasn't enough. It wasn't Travis Walton. No, something different happened to me. So food for thought.
Yeah, food for thought. And that's why it's so cool that we're doing the remote view. You give me some really great remote viewing targets, and I don't know. I'm not saying it's the end all be all, but at least we get some answers kind of with that data. It makes for a good time, and it's just fun. It's just fun to do this. I still haven't gotten a mermaid. I haven't gotten a mermaid target yet. However, we have gotten these other ones with the Lake Baikal swimmers, the organism 46B, the Nomo, the Kushtaka. I do have a picture of the Kushtaka, actually. That did make the cut here. I got one. This is supposed to be something similar to what that looks like. And this is like a drawing, which I found kind of interesting because they were making a connection between Bigfoot and the otter. It's almost like an otter Bigfoot, which I think is kind of cool, that swims. And they're described as sirens, as yelling. I mean, they have human voices. They can mimic humans to sound like they're a child in the ocean. They need help. They're drowning, or a man or a woman. And so, yes, it is an otter man. I know it sounds really, really weird. It's an otter man. Yeah, I mean, I guess these would be called sea cryptids too, right, Barry? Because they reside in the ocean. They're in and out. So why not?
That works for me.
Yeah.
That's what I think I called them. One of those videos I did, I called them sea cryptids, I think. Yeah, it's valid enough, and there's so many different types of them that it's, we're kind of focusing on the Merpeople now, but that's the one that's probably seen the most. But there's all these different types of sea cryptids because we know so little about the ocean.
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, 10% of whatever.
The siren song. Is it siren or siren? I don't know.
Siren. Those reports in Africa, they say that a lot, that you see them on the rocks. They jump in the water and they scream. Before they jump in the water and they scream. And when they scream, it's horrible. I've heard that in many reports of seeing these Merpeople, especially the ones that are more hideous. They can say they're hideous. They're hideous.
Well, anything that is not supposed to exist is pretty hideous, probably, to a lot of people. I've never heard of a single cryptid that's absolutely gorgeous. I'm just saying. I don't know. Have you?
Well, they say some of the Bigfoot, the hair's all combed out like they're groomed up. I've heard some reports about some alpha males looked all groomed out. Looked like somebody combed their hair, I don't know.
It's all a preference. It's all a preference. It's all personal preference. Now, I actually have some pictures, like some charts kind of some of different various sea cryptids, I guess. There's just cryptids, period, because I see Mothman on here. That's definitely not a sea cryptid. I was just trying to find the different sea cryptids.
I put one of those on one of those videos. I think is one of those. I think the ones that really have the most validity is not really even the dinosaur ones as much as the eel type of serpent ones. But when you start looking in the Congo, so many different types of dinosaur cryptids are reported in the Congo that it's unreal. But you've got especially not Ogopogo, but it's the one in the Congo that they say it's a Brontosaurus, but it stays in the water. They stay in the water to where it's just their necks come out of the water, and they feed in the water and they stay in the water. The reports I saw to where they never hardly see them out of the water ever. That's these Brontosaurus in the Congo.
Okay, so a little clip just came out this week that allegedly shows 2 Loch Ness monster type creatures, plesiosaurs, following behind a boat. Okay, now I have watched that little clip over and over and over again. And I thought by the way the water did not ripple, the way I expected it to ripple, I thought it's got to be fake. Okay, it's probably is fake, it's probably CGI, right? But I thought it was interesting because when we first started the show tonight, you mentioned that when people see some of these cryptids in the water doesn't ripple like you would think it would. It's almost like there's some kind of smooth movement where they go into the water where it doesn't make a huge splash. Okay, so that got my brain kind of working there.
No question. Is that like the 3 humps you see following the boat? That video? Is that
No,
what it looks like? 3 humps or long thing, kind of.
No, this is where it has 2 heads, 2 actual heads. I should have sent this to you before the show tonight. It's it's 2 heads, like full heads that look like what you would consider to be like a Loch Ness monster, kind of following behind a boat, or I don't know if the boat was stationary, but there was a boat. There were people in it.
I'm thinking about another one too, where you see in the tail thing looks like it's split. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Hey, in the intro to this show, I believe Dave Scott or Brian Bowden made that. I'm not sure which one of them made that, but there's an aquatic cryptid in the intro to this show, actually, and it's got like 3 humps, and it looks like it's in a canal, in an industrial area, potentially. Maybe what you're talking about, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's one where I've seen it. It's made to the History Channel too, and they got like they zoom in on it, and they're really trying to do a thing about the tail. Was it a tail that had been cut by a propeller of a normal creature, or was this something else completely? I can't remember the name of the video or anything. I'm sorry, but it's one of those things that catches your attention, you know.
Yeah.
You know the one that I really like though, that brings me a great deal of joy.
Which one?
This is gonna get in trouble for this. It's the white Sasquatch taking the backpack, going like that, it rolls down the hill. Do you know what I'm talking about? They say it's a Russian Yeti, but it's ridiculous. But it's a good suit that rolls down the hill. I think this is hilarious.
I'm not sure about that. Is that the CGI one where it looks like it's grabbing a guy in the woods? I don't know.
No, it's got like a backpack and it's going like this. And then it kind of trips and it rolls. It looks like somebody in a big suit, but I mean, they absolutely trip and roll down the. It's kind of funny.
Oh my gosh! Sorry. Yeah, it's well, that brings up a good point though too. Is like there's so much AI generated stuff today, like so many pictures. Just watching things on the internet, watching things on your computer or your cell phone, it's hard to tell kind of what's real and what's not now. And so I have to just kind of assume a lot of things are not real unless I see it with my own eyes at this point, which kind of sucks. Yeah.
I try to use good discernment, but I've been tricked before. I'll tell you, the one that got me was the picture of the melanated lions, the black lions. There was 2 of those pictures I thought might be real. That's been like 10 years ago, but they got me though. I didn't know it was CGI. It's pretty good. So
you got duped. I know. So it's just good to use your discernment, I guess, at this point. And especially with that, even that documentary. I mean, the Animal Planet, that they put out that documentary about mermaids that a lot of people thought it was real. And then
that's what's messed up, because they use real things legend wise. And then that's why I mentioned that earlier, so I don't want to repeat myself too much, but it's those 2 clips on there. Those 2 clips I sent to you earlier, that's from there. The one with the arm coming out, and then also the one you just showed a picture of it earlier. Those 2 came from there. And that's a shame that those clips were thrown in there along with all this BS that were actors up there doing whatever, mockumentary or whatever, and then taking that whole thing into, the aquatic ape theory. That's unproven, but if you really want to talk about perhaps an extraterrestrial species that would evolve on a different planet and the humanoids and what could happen here when you start dealing with the type of, amphibious, humanoid, aquatic creatures, it's not so far out then. It really isn't. The aquatic ape theory thing they were talking about on there. But sadly, that whole thing just...
Yeah. Can you explain to the audience just kind of briefly what the aquatic ape theory is, in case somebody's not familiar with that?
Basically, at a point that we have ancestors that had to survive in the sea. So they were and went to the sea as opposed to and started off in the sea before they're even land walkers fully, or vice versa. But so that's about the body mutating and adapting to living in the ocean to where you would be like Aquaman. I mean, to a degree, I'm being funny, but I mean, but seriously, that's what it's supposed to be. But so they're trying to take that and saying that that may be what some of these merpeople are actually humans that evolved more in water through this aquatic ape theory. And they start showing the different mutations that will come up. On those one of those videos I've done several videos on it. One of them I addressed aquatic ape theory and found some pretty good representations and explanations. So I mean, it's not unproven, but if you're dealing with species from especially another sphere, it's really not so far out. And we got to really take into that. And something else I'll throw in there too. Something, the fact that we can have portals inside the sea also. These micro wormholes, these makos, they're not just going to be on land and in the air. You're going to have that in sea, especially when you start going deeper with those type of dimensional, those forces, that weight, that pressure, whole nother thing going on. So to think that some of these creatures are slipping through water portals is not out of the question either.
Okay, that's what people ask sometimes about the Loch Ness monster, and I've gone through periods where I think that could be what happens with the Loch Ness monster, that there's some sort of portal under the water where they're coming in and out of this dimension. Time traveling. I mean, potentially time traveling Loch Ness monsters. Okay, plesiosaurs. It's not that crazy to think that. And we also if you add in like the USOs that are coming in and out of the oceans and stuff, I mean, they could potentially be coming in and out of portals as well.
Definitely.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's really interesting. So yeah, the portals add a whole new dimension to it, right? I know that sounds.
Never heard that.
That's so corny.
Never heard that one. It's called aquatic ape theory. What I'm talking about. So yeah, all good though.
Yes. Now I've also heard that Nessie is from off planet or went off planet. Okay, that's another theory, and that's Barry. You'll love the Star Trek connection. Star Trek. I can't see you. Obviously, I never hardly watched it. Okay, I know it's like one of your favorite shows, but I've been told that potentially the episode, I think it was Star Trek 4. They were taking whales off planet, and I was told that actually that was based on a true story of them taking Nessie and her child off planet, and that's what happened to the Loch Ness monster. I'm just saying. That's what I heard.
Oh, come on. Somebody want to hear me laugh. You hear me laugh on that. You might as well show me that picture of that ape again. What was that? What was that baby you showed me last time? That just about took me out. I could barely focus after you showed that picture of the Alvin chipmunk. The genetic mutation. Oh, man. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, I'm sure that maybe the Enterprise came here and grabbed Nessie and daughter and took them to Vega, I
don't know. There's no telling. There's no telling. Space Nessie.
I don't even laugh at somebody's theory that I shouldn't laugh.
Okay, so the picture you're referring to, so the audience will know, is that Barry and I did a show together this past Thursday on my channel, and I had remote viewed, one of my targets was the Solomon Island Giants. The Solomon Island Giants, and there's a story of a woman who was impregnated by a giant. And I didn't know for sure. I'd done some research right before the show, and there was a picture of the offspring, allegedly.
I can't look at it. I gotta block it.
We're not going to talk about it. You guys go look it up.
We don't talk about it. You can show the picture. I can't see it.
I believe it was not. I believe it was not a real picture.
Go ahead and show it. Why
I'm sorry. I know it was. I know. I had somebody worried. They were a little, because it wasn't. I was like, if it's real, it's sad. Okay, but I don't believe it was real. I don't believe it was real. So I apologize for showing that, but it made for a good laugh. Okay, for Barry and myself. So yeah. But that's what happens when you're mixing giants and humans and parakeets. I don't know, I look like a parakeet person. So, but yeah, back to portals.
Yeah.
Back to the portals.
Dealing with some things and looking at some things like Randall Carlson and everybody that talks about the end of the ice age and during the ice age and all that. But thinking of, when you deal with some of the places at the bottom of the oceans that would not frozen at that point during the ice age, and you've got a lot of aquatic species down there at the bottom that would still be reproducing and continuing on even till after the end of the ice age. And I think that needs to be taken into consideration also, those ones that are already at sub-zero temperatures down there. That would be probably the main way you would get these plesiosaurs and things that exist. I personally don't think the Loch Ness or Ogopogo are plesiosaurs myself, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Or what's the other one? There's another very large serpent that looks similar to the plesiosaurus. Alatsamosaurus, I think it was called.
I'm not familiar with that one at all.
Really long neck.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of reported modern day dinosaur sightings all over the place too. I mean, I had made a piece of artwork, okay, for the show that I was putting on social media, and it looked like a gigantic, some kind of prehistoric fish chasing a great white with a mermaid. Okay, but we don't know if there are these types of fish. I know that's fake, y'all. Okay, I made that. Great, but we don't know what's really out there. If only 10% of the ocean has been explored, how do we know what's really out there in the ocean? We don't.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're having a conversation in the chat right now about whirlpools being portals, Barry. Are you familiar with whirlpools potentially being portals?
Yeah, they could be, just based on their convex, how they go like that. So a lot of people say that, you know what I mean? But then you're dealing with the spiral, and that a lot of portals actually come in the form of a spiral. So to say that a whirlpool in water maybe could be a portal, I don't think it's out of the question at all. So
yeah. I always wonder.
It could be what generates some of them sometimes, for all we know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that would suck. It would suck to get sucked into a whirlpool. It would suck. I've got some terrible jokes tonight. I didn't mean for that to be a joke either. No pun intended.
Wasn't that, what is that in 10,000 Leagues of the Sea? Captain Nemo and the Nautilus. I think Nautilus got sucked into a whirlpool, didn't it? Crushed. I think, if I can't remember the story fully, but I thought that's what happened to Captain Nemo.
Man, well, this is really awesome, Barry. We've actually come to the end of the hour already. I know we're having fun. Cool. We could talk all night.
I think we got everything though, all the important stuff that I had written down. We nailed all of it, which is kind of bringing this stuff together, because we've done a lot of work on over the sea cryptids and sea beings, sea monsters. So I would advise everybody to maybe go back and look at your remote viewing show and check some of them out.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. We've got all sorts of weird cryptids on my channel over there with these remote viewing targets. So, yeah, y'all go check that out. Any final words on mermaids or any kind of aquatic stuff, Barry?
No, I think just keeping an open mind. And I would really recommend people go check, like I said, that Joe Rogan, Tony Woods thing out. It's only 7 minutes. It's a good experience, somebody that just saw one of these. So I think just keeping an open mind and try to learn as much as we can.
Oh yeah. Okay, perfect. Well, we're putting the information out there, and exploring these topics. So Barry, thank you so much for being here tonight. Can you tell the audience where they can find you?
Sure. Yeah, I do a lot of stuff on YouTube under Barry Littleton. I'm also on Patreon, Barry Littleton, but YouTube is a good one. I'm also on Facebook under Barry Littleton. I'm on Instagram, and hopefully I'll evolve further than that at some point. I have a website, barrylittleton.com, that I don't really get on there much, but it's got links to my stuff on there too. So.
Okay, awesome. I was trying to type it in real quick, but my computer decided to do something different. So, so you guys please subscribe to Barry Littleton on YouTube and on Patreon. You guys, supporting Barry on Patreon is so important. He puts some really amazing videos out there. And yeah, I mean, anything that Barry comes on the shows and talks about, he has already done massive research on these topics. Okay, so Barry, I appreciate you so much. You have no idea.
Well, thanks for having me here, and thank the audience too. It was a nice one. I think it was pretty cool.
Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome. Well, I might be seeing you. Oh, go ahead.
To look over there. I kept forgetting to look over at the chat, so I'm sorry.
Well, I might be seeing you this week. We'll see over at the Cryptid Hunters channel, and we might have something in the works for everybody. Okay. Well, Barry, have a wonderful night. Thank you so much, and I will see you later. Okay. Have a good night. All right. Okay, y'all. That was awesome. I hope you guys learned something. I always learn something when Barry's here. Okay. Don't forget that right after this show, After Hours has a fantastic program. So you guys head over there in about 1 minute. Okay. Please come see me this week on the Cryptid Huntress channel here on YouTube, on Facebook, wherever you can find me. I also just uploaded 12 new episodes to the Cryptid Huntress podcast. It's on all the podcasting platforms. You guys go find that. There's links in my social media on Instagram, I think, and on Facebook. Okay, if you can't find it, it's there. Okay, y'all. Well, have a wonderful night. I will see you guys this week at the Cryptid Hunters channel, and then I'll be back here next Sunday. You guys have a good night. Stay safe out there. Keep your head on a swivel and watch for mall aliens. Okay? I'll see y'all next time. Have a great night. Bye, y'all.